Hello there, it's me, Sari, here again, and today I thought I'd show you how to make a distress square clean and simple card. So this is what I have done using a template like this, fasten it with some paper clips, put on some distress ink, take it away, and then do some stamping on top of that. So let's see if I can make the same thing while you are watching. So the first thing I'm going to do, actually I'm going to show you what kind of a die set I'm using. This is the set. It's A2 distressed edges. It's a die set from Spellbinders and it's called S5-174. And I'm just using the third sized template there, or the die. And in order to keep this in place, I'm going to use some washi tape, and then I'm going to do the die cutting with that big shop machine I got. So let's run it through like so. So you can see that it has cut through, and it's a good thing having this washi tape here, because otherwise it would have been slipping and sliding, I'm sure, everywhere. If I want to, I could just actually leave that one there for now. Perhaps I could use it for something later, but I'm just going to concentrate on this now. Since I have this pre-scored, it's easy for me to fold it like this. And I'm just going to take a piece of paper now, really, with a smooth surface, really. So I'm just going to look in to see if I can center this, sort of. And then I'm just going to use a couple of paper clips to hold it in place. So this is just for demonstrative purpose, really. Of course, if I were to make a card or something, I would take more care making it work properly. And it's good to have paper clips wherever you can, as many as you can. So now I'm just going to trim the excess off. And then I'm going to put one there. Oh my goodness. And there. And one here as well, because that will give me some kind of support. So you could go either for some spray here, but then of course you need to press it down with your fingers, because the spray has a tendency to just leap in under everything. So I'm just going to keep the same color scheme that I had before. Just going to take my distress ink blending tool and start working from the outside inwards. So this piece of card that I'm using as a template, I'm actually going to keep it for later use as well. And this is a nice technique, especially if you're going to make quite a few of cards with the same technique and the same pattern and everything. So I like to keep these as templates. You see, I'm not doing that good a job now blending the colors, but I'm hoping I'll be able to make it work. And of course you could go for different hues in the color. You could go for three layers and such. You could actually do just whatever you want with this technique, and I think it's really nice. And the paper clips are actually helping me to keep everything in place. Let's say I were interested in making a frame or something to this, and I didn't want that frame to show on the white. Well, I could continue stamping here, but then I needed to think about that the paper here is pretty thick. So I would have to be really careful how and where I press, because I don't want an ugly white line between the stamping and such. So it's a technique you need to master, as I'm sure. So let's take these away and see what the outcome is. So here it is. And I do like the torn edge here, so this is why I went for this die set. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do stamping, this time using peeled paint. And this wonderful nature-themed stamp. Comes from Inka Dinka Doo. But now I'm just going to do the stamping and then I'm going to show you the package. And I like to put it a little bit outside, like so. And I'm just going to give it a good squeeze from up and just lift it up again. So this is it. So I'm going to go for a smaller stamping block. And this one is going in every direction, so it's really difficult to know which word to follow. So I'm going to try making it work with this one instead then. And I'm going to ink it up pretty well, because the distress inks are water-based, so I think it needs a little bit of help. Of course, if I wanted to make this one pop, I could actually go for some olive from the Archival Ink series. I need to sneeze. Sorry about that. Just took me by surprise, really. So here we are, and I'm just going to put that there. And I'm going to keep it there for a little while. So this is basically a very simple way to make a simple, clean and simple card. I'm not sure which is the best, but I was just wanting to show you this technique. And if I compare these, the placement of that, it's not a branch, it's I don't know what it's called. I do like it better, being a little bit on the askew and a little bit more of the green showing there. So this isn't the perfect one. I would actually go for this one. And in this case, the acrylic stamps are really the best, because then you can see where you put these stamps. Hello, I'm back, and I just couldn't let that failure of video escape, so I thought I'd give you some more ideas on how to work with that so-called distress square, but I don't think that's a proper name for it, really. I do believe that it has to do with masking and templates and such, because you do have a template here now, don't you? So you're just colouring in the whole of a template, really, so it isn't more special than that. But there are several ways of doing it. Here is something that I tried out on a crafts expo once. It was slöljd-detaljer that actually did show me this technique. So this is a fantastic card that I got from them. I haven't made this myself, but I do know the technique for it. You actually do cut a piece of paper, oh I'm sorry, you do cut a piece of plastic into two things. So one thing is this, and then you're going to keep both the negative and the positive. And for the first thing, you're just going to put the leftover piece of the plastic on top of here. You could actually have some small dots of glue or something just to keep it in place, because plastic, you know, is pretty flimsy and it does go about its own ways. So you need to keep that there. So you could actually just cover this bit here into a square. So you just use some, here they have used some orange colors, and then they have stamped with black. But before, yes, let's see how they did this. And then they changed, they put the plastic here, and then they started stamping with different pattern stamps here and there. And they did use an ink pad, I think it could have been archival ink or something, which was a little bit wet, so to say. So before they took this piece of plastic away from the orange part here, they actually dragged the black ink to the edges here, so that frame would be even more visible. Do you see what I mean there? So it's a nice way of actually making a really strong statement of a card. This does look like it has got lots of depth to it, but it's only just a plain card. So it could be called clean and simple, or just messy and simple, but it's a really nice effect, I think. I think this is something that I have tried out myself, because I do recognize these stamps. So you can do it in several ways. Of course, I haven't colored the edges off, but otherwise it's sort of the same thing, really. Then I just thought I'd give you the opposite way of using stamps. I mean, it's nice to actually make a frame with different kinds of pattern stamps. Here I got some stamps from Inkido, it's a Swedish stamp company. So I do like these stamps, and it's a nice way of actually making a nice statement, I think. What else have I got here? Well, here I've got, I could actually show these together. You know, I came to think of this. I mean, this is a card I made a couple of years ago when I was designing for the Greeting Farm, because this is a stamp from the Greeting Farm, really. And I die cut this label here with Spellbinders labels 4, and I did keep the die in because I did that the same thing. It's the same thing here, really. I'm keeping the die in its place. I could of course put some tape here also just to keep it in place even more, and then I could drag in the ink. I can actually show you. Let's see if I can find those leftover pieces of that washi tape I used. Just going to put that there just to help to keep it in place, because it might start wandering. And then of course I have to bear in mind that I'm using an acrylic, aquarelle paper here, watercoloring paper, so it might be a little bit more difficult to color this in. And I might even do it in a 3-section thing, as I told you could do before. So I'm thinking orange, green, and perhaps I need to go with some blue, just to give it some nice. But of course you could also think about the basic colors, actually. The colors that when mixed together really form other colors. So I'm going to need the red. So I'm going to go for the festive berries. I'm going to use red, yellow and blue, and I'm hoping I'll be able to make some nice stuff from this. So I think I'll start with the yellow in the center there. In that way I'm hoping I'll be able to make nice blendings on both sides. And I'm just going to work myself in like this. Hope you can see me. I'm just going to stay in the center here, really, and I'm going to put it on pretty thickly. So now I've got that yellow going on there. Let's see what I can make of the red one. This one ought to turn into orange, depending on what color you've got, of course. You know, I don't know what it is, but things aren't going my way today. It didn't turn out orange as I wanted. And then I'm going to go for the blue, and this ought to be green in the shift there, and this ought to be purple. I don't know. Perhaps I've got too little of the yellow then. So perhaps the trick is to do the yellow on top of the... Well, a little bit of yellow actually did the trick. So now that I'm going to take this away, I'm going to have a nice white frame around this circle, or this pattern of colors here. So this is a nice way of actually doing this. So perhaps I could call this technique reversed stenciling. And this is nice, isn't it? Just imagine that. A really nice looking thing there. So it's the same thing. You actually keep the die cut or the die in place and just ink it up. So you're going to stencil, really. It's a stenciling square, perhaps. Here I found a card also that I made a couple of years ago, and I have used stamps from, I think it's Artemio, both of these. No, I think this is one. This one comes from Technique Tuesday, actually. This one could be Artemio. This one could be Technique Tuesday, I'm not sure. This is Artemio and this is the greeting farm, and I just love how cute he is. It's a sailor boy there. And I did have some sort of a stenciling technique here as well in the background, and I did stamp with the same color, so I stamped hue on hue, but same colors. Here is something else that I wanted to show you. I just did color the background in, and I did stamp with several different pattern stamps to make it a little bit wild. So this is the stamp from Kenny K. He is really magnificent when it comes to drawing these wonderful girl stamps. So Explore Your Wild Side, that one's called. And then I wanted to show you these two, because these two both are actually embossed. So I have started off by embossing with white powder here, and then dragging on some brown distress ink. The same thing goes here. I do think that I had a yellow paper or something in the background, and then I embossed this with clear, and then I dragged on some orange. And I just love this owl card. This is something I made years ago as well. So this is my first easel card really, and I do like it. I do love those owls, I can't help myself. So that's a little bit about that distress stenciling technique. I think I need to find a way to call this. I do hope that you did get a better picture of what I was trying to show you with these two before. So you know, you have endless possibilities. You could either stamp outside the frame or inside the frame. You could do whatever really. It's a nice technique anyway. I'm going to sign off right now, and I thank you for your patience yet once more. Bye bye.